Hi guys, and welcome back to another Final Fantasy VII Remake video. After watching all the trailers and being spoiled with all the content so far surrounding the Final Fantasy VII Remake, there's just a few things for me that don't add up to this game being entirely based in Midgar. I know what you're thinking, it's what we've been told, but I personally feel there is enough to explore the possibility that we may see some sort of open world. And I thought for today's video I'd explore this idea, but what I will say is that anything I do talk about in today's video is just simply me thinking outside the box, but I do think it would make for a very interesting debate within this community, so with that being said, let's mosey. So firstly I wanted to put this video in some type of context, and I wanted to talk about the broad scale and address Final Fantasy as a whole, and then kind of mirror those thoughts with the remake in mind to give you guys just some perspective. And I think that way it just will open your mind to interpretation, so to speak. So first of all, let's look at Square Enix's model over the Final Fantasy franchise as a whole. And I think it's fair to say every Final Fantasy title has always had the same structure in the sense of, storyline, side quests, super bosses, weapon hunting, open world, and general character maximization. So that begs the question, why would the remake be any different? For example, in the original Final Fantasy VII, you could save your progress at the Northern Cave, go back and go around maximizing your progress, doing things like collecting materia, summons, ultimate weapons and limit breaks. You could take on the battle square in the Gold Saucer, you could breed chocobos, you could race the chocobos, and you could also level up enough to be able to take on the final super bosses in Emerald and Ruby Weapon. In Final Fantasy VIII you had the card game and usual side quests, and the super boss was Omega Weapon. In Final Fantasy IX you had the Chocograph Hidden Treasures, and obviously the Ozma Super Boss. Final Fantasy X had Blitzball and the Secret and Dark Aeons. And then if you take Square Enix's most recent Final Fantasy title, which is Final Fantasy 15, which I suppose is the best example to use here as it's obviously Square's most modern take, that had plenty of side quests, rescue missions, broken cars, scraps of mystery, treasure maps, photo ops, hunts, regalia upgrades, fishing, ultimate weapon crafting, recipes, menaces, and the Pitios ruins, which I still haven't completed and don't think I will ever complete, but you get my point. I could go on, I could list everything in all the other Final Fantasy titles over the last 30 years that have been implemented, but you get the point. They've just had that same structure in place in every Final Fantasy, so why would they change that? And surely that means the remake's going to have similar traits. Surely we're going to see some storyline, side quest, hidden dungeons, and some sort of open world. I just can't see Midgar being the main source of leveling up, finding hidden dungeons, weapons and summons. And let's face it, with it being on PlayStation there will be a trophy list to hunt down, so with all that in mind, let's take a closer look at some of the content we've seen so far with the remake. So we know that the story covers up to the main party's escape from Midgar. As you can see on screen, that was part of the story information released by Square themselves. Notice the key word is story here though, so it shouldn't be beyond the realms of possibility that we won't be able to access the initial Midgar Wasteland open world at some point after the credits or even during the storyline. Because taking the structure mentioned earlier that Square Enix have obviously always had, the after story playability, there has to be something in place to maximise your XP, weapons and obviously the materia. And as mentioned before, the trophy pool, we need somewhere to earn those trophies. And let's face it, there's got to be some type of super boss, and I just don't personally think that lies within Midgar. Now don't get me wrong, I do understand that Midgar is vast in size, and I don't want to take away anything from the level of detail they put into Midgar, with more towns, open world and content. We're not asking for the full game here. A little open world surrounding the Midgar Wasteland would just be enough to tie us over. And in fact, let's talk about the summons. For instance, we saw Leviathan in the theme song trailer, and we also seen Chocomog summon as well. Both we don't get until after escaping Midgar. Now, Leviathan's story could involve Shinra stealing it from Wutai during the Wutai War, and then us stealing it back from them. I covered that in my last video, but what doesn't make sense is that you'd get Chocomog in Midgar. Surely you could only pick that up on the Chocobo farm, or am I just going a bit crazy here? Yes, we see it in action in Midgar, which obviously leads me to believe that maybe we could access the open world earlier with some expanded storyline content like an avalanche mission of some sort. And you know, with that, it'd give us some alternative options, so a few side quests along the way. Then at the end of the game, after the credits, maybe that triggers more content in the open world. Because when you think about it, the Midgar Wasteland, it's not a massively detailed area. They could obviously add things to it. And then when you look at potential super bosses, because there will be at least one, would that be the Midgar ONLY? Let's face it, it'd make a lot of sense, and it'd make it a lot more relevant. Because if you ask me, you're not going to be able to run through a swamp that a 30-foot tall serpent is fully submerged, so defeating it would make a lot more sense. In the original, although it was a fun addition, by the time you got back around taking on the Midgar ONLY, it was kind of an irrelevantly easy fight, so making it a super boss would just make that whole lot of sense. But you know, I could be totally off the mark here, but it'd be interesting to see what you guys think down below. The game has got to have a lot of playability and open for DLC to keep the community happy in between episodes. Thinking about the structure that Final Fantasy have always had in place, it would be strange for it to not have some type of open world. And you know, hopefully I've created enough of a friendly debate here and given you a chance for your minds to run wild with theories and ideas. That's what I've intended to do here. I hope you can see that. Let me know in the comments down below what you think. If you think it's a possibility, we will. If you don't think we're going to get anything of an open world, or maybe come up with some cool theories of how we could obviously implement super bosses in an open world just based in Midgar. And if you haven't already, guys, please subscribe to the channel for more Final Fantasy VII Remake content. Follow me on Twitter so we can talk about all things Final Fantasy VII. And also, if you're on Discord, I have just made a Discord channel for other Final Fantasy enthusiasts, so if you'd like to speak to some like-minded Final Fantasy fans, share Final Fantasy content, you can find the links with them and all my other socials like Facebook and Instagram down below. And until next time, take care.